Hey guys, welcome back to Two Car Pros. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to change the oil and filter on a 2005 F-150 with a 5.4 liter V8. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is remove the oil pan drain bolts located here on the oil pan underneath the vehicle. I didn't need to jack up this vehicle because it's already lifted and I can crawl under here real easily. If you do need to lift your vehicle up, I got a great video for that. Check the card. We need to remove that bolt. It's 16 millimeters, at least on this one it is. Typically after you break it loose, you can take it out with a hand. Make sure you have some cardboard on the ground and your catch basin ready. There we go. While you're here, take a look at your oil pan drain bolt. Make sure the washer came along with it, because you don't want to double washer up when you replace this bolt. And we're going to let all the oil spill out. While it's doing that, take a rag here and clean off the oil pan drain bolt. Okay, so once the oil has drained out, we're going to clean that mating surface between the bolt and the oil pan. That's why it's nice to have shop rags around. Oh yeah, that looks way better. It's gonna keep dripping. There's really nothing you can do about that. That's okay. We're gonna take our nice, clean oil pan drain bolt here and replace it. If your oil pan drain bolt doesn't look good, or the little rubber O-ring inside doesn't look good, or the washer doesn't look good. I don't know if this has a washer. I think it just has that little rubber O-ring in there. And that's okay. If your bolt doesn't look like it's in good shape, just replace it. They're very, very cheap and will save you massive amounts of headache down the line. Okay, and it just needs to be tight. I'll put the torque spec on the screen if you want to technically be correct, but I've been doing this for a while, and I know how tight it needs to be. But if you want to be technically correct, no harm in that. So the torque spec is on the screen. So here is your oil filter. We need to remove this next. It's this white thing right there. So we need to position our drain pan to catch all the oil. It's going to make a mess. Make sure you're ready. It's about as good as that's gonna get. It's gonna dribble everywhere. There's really no way to prevent that. Do your best with cardboard, maybe some trash bags laid down, and make sure you have your catch basin ready. And then we can start removing it. Typically these are only on hand tight. I've had some of them be a stinker, but let's hope for the best. Okay, this filter is on here really, really tight. You could use an oil filter wrench in this situation, or some of them have a big socket you can put on, but my favorite tool in this situation is a nice big pair of channel locks. Because we just need to break it loose. Okay, so I broke it loose with those channel locks, and now it should spin freely. It'll start leaking. There we go. May have to constantly adjust your drain pan here, because it's going to make a mess. I'm actually dumping out the filter a little bit, so removing it's a bit cleaner. Okay. So there's the filter. It's out and removed. When you're removing your filter, let me clean it off first. Give me a second. When you remove your filter, you want to make sure the O-ring right here, this rubber O-ring, comes along with it. If that doesn't come with it, you need to reach up there on the mating surface and peel it off. Because if you have two of these O-rings on when you put the new one, the new filter on, you're going to have a leaking problem, and that's not going to be fun. And you're going to have to redo the job. So now it looks like the oil has more or less stopped dripping. I'm going to reach up there with a rag. I want to clean off that mating surface so it's nice and clean for the new application. Oh yeah, that's way better. I'm going to try to clean up all the oil that's spilt over here too. There's like a little catch basin. I don't see how dirty the rag is. There's like a little catch basin up there. No, not a catch basin. It's like a channel system, kind of like gutters. That gets the oil to spill one particular direction. So I'm gonna clean that off, and that's just a personal preference. This is my pickup truck, so I want to keep it nice. Okay, so over here on the workbench, we're gonna take a look at the oil filter. This is the particular oil filter you need. It's an FL820S Motorcraft. I only recommend Motorcraft for your Ford. Now, we'll talk about engine oil in a second, and I can already hear you pounding your keyboard with the caps locks button on. It's 5W30 in the cap, and the manual say 5W20. There's a good reason for that. I will discuss it when we're putting the oil in. But for now, just take my word for it. So what we're going to do is take our new filter out. Ooh, inspect it. It's very nice, very pretty, looks great. And we're going to open one of our oil containers here. Dip our finger inside and apply it to the new O-ring. Oh yeah. If you don't do this step, you could get leaks. This ensures a good seal with the mating surface. See, look at that. That's much better. Now a lot of people are going to ask me, do you need to prime the filter? No, you don't need to prime the filter. It fills up within like a second of you starting the engine. A lot older cars need to, like pre-70s, maybe even pre-80s cars, but this car's from 2005, and you don't need to pre-fill the filter. So let's go put it on. We can now replace our oil filter. Now the oil filter only needs to be on hand tight. It doesn't need a tool. I'll show you what that means. So here it's getting tighter and stuff. I want to do like a 3/4 turn beyond that. I just do it until it gets really tough. You know, hand tight. And that's perfect. Don't tighten any tighter than that. You could bust the threads off, or it'll be a total pain in the neck to get that one off when it's time to change it again. Okay, so now we need to replace the oil that we removed. So we're going to remove the oil cap here. It's located on the left side of the engine. And like I said, the cap says 520 on it for replacement oil. But I'm going to be using 530 full synthetic from Mobil 1. And here's why. I've talked to a couple of my buddies that work with Ford, and they all told me pretty much the same thing, that the cam actuators in this engine go out. It's just the nature of the beast. And they told me if you put a little bit thicker oil in it when it's warm, so the same viscosity, so W doesn't stand for weight. I don't know where that came from. It stands for winter. It means when the engine's cold and the oil's cold, it's a 5 viscosity. When it's hot, it's a 30 viscosity. So when the engine starts, it's going to be the same viscosity, but when it gets hot, this is going to be a little bit thicker, and that's supposed to be better for the cam actuators. That's what I've been told by a bunch of Ford guys, and you know what? 530 and 520 are actually really, really similar. So I'm perfectly okay with putting 530 in this engine. It should be 6 quarts, but I'll let you know exactly how many I'm putting in. This big container's 5. Why don't they make a 6-quart container? I don't really know. I think that's so you have to buy the single one too. I think that's how they get us. Okay, so I put 5 quarts in, and now I'm going to check it. Just a good practice to be in. Take the dipstick out, wipe it off. And then we need to insert it all the way back in. All the way down the oil tube here. Don't short stick it. And then pull it back up and we can check the level. Okay, so the oil's is pretty low actually. You see it? The majority, like there's a little bit up here, but the majority of it's down here. So we're gonna need to at least add another quart. Okay, I put in the 6th quart and now I'm gonna check it again. You might be asking me why I even bothered only putting in 5 and checking it. That's because taking oil out, a lot harder than putting it back in. So no harm in being extra cautious. Oh yes, that's much better. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera. I'm sorry if it's not focusing. So the majority of the oil is right here. It's about 3/4 of the way to the top point here. You want to be somewhere in this sweet zone. That's really where you want to be. Now what I'm going to do is start the engine and let it run for about 45 seconds while I replace the oil cap. Don't run your engine without the oil cap on. And then we're going to check the level again. Okay, so we let the engine run for about 45 seconds. This should fill out all the oil galleries and the oil filter. So I'm going to check the level again. I wipe it off nice and good. And we can fully insert it down the oil tube. So the oil level has dropped some. It was up here. There's some oil streaking, but the majority of it, the big glob, is right down here. So it's going to need another quart. So 7 quarts go into this thing. I could have sworn it was 6, but I put 6 in. And that's where I'm at so far. So I'm going to put in a 7th. Okay, this is after the 7th quart. And I'm going to check it again. That's what you're looking for. Sorry if you can't really see it, but basically the majority of the oil, the big glob, is right here, about at the 3/4 point. I'm really sorry if you can't see it. Just there. So that is a good oil level for this engine with the little bit thicker oil. So hopefully those cam actuators last a little longer. I'm sure they'll go at some point. And I'll have to replace them, but it's not that big a deal. So here you go. And you just need to replace the oil cap, the one I removed earlier, and the repair is all finished. Okay, so that's how you change the oil in a 5.4 liter V8 2005 F-150. Now, this video will most likely work for any vehicle with that 5.4 liter V8. That includes the Super Duty and Expedition. And I think they still put them in Excursions at that point. I think they're still making the Excursion in 2005. I don't know. Anything with a 5.4, it's going to look relatively similar to that. Thank you so much for watching. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. Make sure you're subscribed. Giveaway at 40,000 subs, which we already hit, so I have to do a giveaway video. And I'll see you then.